Hi Libra, this is your general tarot reading for Libra Sun, Moon and Ascendant, or rising sign, for the month of May. And Libra, I hope you're watching this video in a comfortable seat or a comfortable place, totally relaxed, in your cozy clothes, drinking something nice, maybe a peppermint tea or maybe something a little bit stronger, gin and tonic maybe, and relaxing, because I think you need a moment to relax. Things have been quite hectic, and usually you don't mind things being hectic, but it seems as we leave April, the energy that you're carrying into a little bit of May is that you're trying to convince a lot of people that the stuff that you're doing in your life has greater meaning, that there's a real purpose to it. And all this convincing, as two cards just came out there, the first one being strength, going to lay it down there. The next one is just temperance, sorry. And all this energy that you've been putting into convincing people that your plans, your dreams, your projects are worthy, you know, that they have a bigger picture to them, Page of Pentacles. It's just used you up. It's just made your battery run low. There was a reason why you started all your projects. There was a reason why you entered relationships. There was a reason why you're working hard to do what you're currently doing, as two cards come out. The Six of Wands and the King of Wands. Waiting on a few more cards, Libra. And the reason is that at some point you could see that there was a wonderful, big promise that the future could be brighter, that the future could expand, that your dreams could expand. You could create something far-reaching. And while people believed in you at the beginning, what you're finding now is that they just don't seem to have the big dream anymore as the Queen of Swords comes out. And maybe that's why the Queen of Swords comes out, because she's the one that has to defend against people coming at her. You know, do you feel like people have been coming at you, Libra? You haven't had a moment's peace trying to keep the peace. I mean, there's the irony, I think, for most Librans, that you work so hard to keep the peace that you eventually lose all sense of peace in yourself. It exhausts you. And you wonder, why the hell don't they just get along? Why the hell don't they just do it the easy way, do it the right way, as Judgment comes out? Why do they always have to make it so complicated? Why do their egos always have to get in the way? Can they not just stick to the bigger picture, as the Fool comes out there? And it's true in your relationships, as another card hops out there, that, oh, two cards, the High Priestess and the Hermit. You're getting a bunch of major arcanas here, and I think I know why, Libra, because all the stuff we're just speaking about, it's going to be huge in May, a big transformation for you. It's going to be just this big. Look, the moon, the moon, the moon. Oh, as it fell through a crack. That's interesting. I put down the moon card on the table, and there's a little slit in the table because it's a wood panel table. And I put down the moon, and it fell right through the table onto the floor. And yeah, I think I understand that energy. Hang on. So there it was, the moon. The moon is falling. The moon is falling. The sky is falling. Does it feel a little bit like that? Well, it's all going to change in May, Libra. If you feel that the sky is falling and the moon, which is your dreams, if they're falling too, it's going to pick up. And the last card comes out, the card of needing to rest, recover, and be in a place of silence for a while you recover. So we have all the cards here, and what I usually do is I bring the camera down to look at the cards, Libra. But this time I'm just going to keep the camera here, and hopefully at this point you'll see a bit of an overview, a picture, a grand overview of the spread, so that you can see the cards that I'm talking about. So you'll see that, but before I go down to the cards, I just want to explain what's happening in May. There is a moment where there's going to have to be a really big shift in your thinking towards creating something more solid and more long-term in your life, to reclaim your power, to call up all your fears, challenge them, and get rid of them, so that you can proceed in a greater sense of self-authority, in a greater sense of power in your own self, without having to depend on other people. I think that's where the balance got a bit strange. There might have been some power dynamics. You were indebted to somebody and you thought that you had to work extra hard, kind of being nice or being something to kind of balance that out. Maybe somebody had invested in a project that you're doing and you have to dance like you're doing a jig in order to impress them, so they think they're getting value for money or something. And maybe there are debts or loans, or it's just this feeling that other people always seem to have more power in your life, and you're constantly trying to bring the scales back to balance. Well, in May, that balance is really going to come, because you're going to reclaim your power. And it's going to require a little bit of hard work, and it's going to be a bit shocking. And I tell you why, because there's a big event happening in the sky. Uranus is moving into Taurus, and that's your 8th house of resources, your partner's resources, money that comes from other people. Taxes is also a big issue. Maybe that's something you'll need to really address in May. But it's also to do with power, control, domination, and all the dynamics that go with that, and digging deep so you can reclaim your power back. You know? So when Uranus moves into this 8th house, he's going to be in there with a new moon. Now this happens on the 15th of May, a new moon in this house of power shifts and transformation. And then the lightning strike that comes from Uranus is going to give that a shocking kick start. Mars in Aquarius in your 5th house. For some of you, the shared resources that you have might be because of money that you share for your household, for children. And that will be really up for review. If some of you are depending on somebody else, maybe an ex or so on, for money to come in, that might significantly change, shockingly. And it will be a pivotal point where you suddenly say, I can't have somebody in my life with so much control over my life. I am reclaiming the power. I'm getting my power back. And everything from now on in my future is going to be in my hands, under my control. And if anybody is not pulling their weight, or if anybody is kind of playing on something, that they have a little something hanging over me, like the sword of Damocles, that if they feel they can do that to me, not anymore. It's going to change, Libra. It's going to change in May, where nobody else has power over you anymore. You have the power. You have the control. And that's a good thing. And here we are. We begin with strength. And where do you get this power and control back? You get it back by going in, sitting down, reliving the original idea that you had, if it's in a relationship or in your work or in some sort of partnership, or wherever you identify where somebody has an imbalanced kind of it's a quota of control over you. You're going to have to address it, dig deep, expand it, talk about it, and come back fighting. This is the card of strength, which means you're going to have strength to fight this demon, to fight it and reclaim your power. If you look at this card, you'll see that she's very relaxed. I mean, this is a beast. This is something you should be terrified of. I mean, if you're walking down the street and you bump into a lion, you're not going to nonchalantly just walk over, very calm and relaxed, and put your hand in his mouth and stretch his jaws open, which is what she's doing. No, she has power now. Do you see this, the infinity symbol? She has her full power, and she's exerting this power. She's showing it by facing her demons and going to the strongest part of it, which is the mouth, opening it up and saying, you don't scare me anymore. I'm not afraid of you anymore. I'm not afraid to let something leave. I'm not afraid for you to get into a temper tantrum. I'm not afraid for you to do X, Y, or Z, you know, where I've usually tried to put, you know, cement over it and try to polish it off. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to allow you have your little tantrum. I'm going to allow you to react whatever way you can, because I'm not afraid of you anymore. I've no fear over you anymore. And I'm not playing your games anymore because I'm stronger. It's a lovely, lovely energy, Libra. And beside it is temperance. Temperance, now, it's a strange relationship that we have with temperance, because on one hand, temperance is saying, you know, find a good balance. But Libra, you do understand what good balance is. But this card is indicating that you need to go back a little bit, dig a bit deeper, and rediscover what fine balance is. I mean, you're the ones who rule over the arts. Do you need to go back in May and rediscover what the fine art of balance is? You know, somebody having control over you, or you being indebted to somebody, it's not really all that balanced. I mean, it's okay if somebody's invested in a project you're doing, that's fine. But when they say, oh, I've invested this amount in what you're doing, because of that, you're going to have to dance a jig for me. You're going to have to do a reel for me. You're going to have to run around the block 20 times for me. Well, that's not balance. And temperance here is asking you, Libra, in May, to rediscover what you're most gifted at. And that is understanding true balance. But in a deeper way. In a deeper way. Staying silent and keeping the peace isn't really balance. Standing up, facing your demons and really thrashing it out with somebody and saying, you either see the big picture or you don't. And if you don't, then you're just in my way. You're just distracting me. And that's what real balance is. Letting people know that just because they have some investment in what you're doing, that they don't actually have any control in what you're doing. You know? I almost get the feeling it's like if you're depending, you're depending on financial support from somebody else, and it disempowers you. But it's okay to depend on other money, as long as it's not disempowering you. This is what I'm trying to say. It's just money. Don't let it have a hold over you. You can still dream your dream. You can still go on with your life. You can still have some authority in your life without somebody feeling that because they've given you a bit of money that they own you. You just say, you don't own me. You never did. It's just a small bit of money. Get over it. I mean, I didn't sell my soul to you. So why the hell now do you think for a little bit of money that you can call the shots? I don't think so. I don't think so. The Page of Pentacles here says that in May, definitely Libra, you'll really begin to feel this new energy of looking at your financial situation, certainly in a new light. Like I said, taxes and things like that might also come up as a surprise for you in May. And you'll be saying again the same thing. I've got to take better control over how my life is going. I got to have more power in my own life. And wherever anybody has removed power from my life, probably, most likely because they're investing financially in me in some way, then I've got to reclaim that. And I've got to do it with a huge sense of power. I've got to learn how to get my power back. And once you do, Libra, once you learn, even just begin, because it's a long-term thing. It'll be a while before you really master this skill, because he's only the beginner. But do at least begin to assert yourself and get that power back, because once you do, you have the card here of a celebration of success. It's almost like a little victory, a bit of a triumph moment where you're celebrated and you're recognized by people. It's a funny thing. I always find it true that people tend to treat you as you permit them to, as you allow them to. Your currency is really what you project out there. If you put yourself out there as somebody who is ready to bow down to somebody who has invested time or energy or something into you, then you're giving them something more than they deserve. No matter what they're giving you, you should still be able to stand up and say, I'm still the boss, I'm still in control, I'm still in charge of my life. And you're going to have to celebrate that. You're going to have to recognize it. You're going to have to see it in me. And you're going to have to see that I am now stepping into this new power. You know, all these people are here cheering him, throwing laurel crowns at him. Even the horse. Look, the horse is even looking back at him saying, yeah, you're pretty impressive here. I've got to be amazed by this newfound transformative power in you. You know, it's a big transformation because it's the next natural step for you, Libra. If you think of it, if we begin the zodiac with Aries, which is the first idea, and we go through all the signs and we arrive at the midpoint, which is you. That's why you're the scales, the balance, the one who keeps everything kind of in a state of equilibrium, because you sit at the center of the zodiac. You can look back all the way down to Aries and see how something began and how it slowly developed. And from your midpoint, you can also look and see how something is going to pass on and end. So that's why you can see all sides of the picture. That's why that's your particular superpower, Libra, because you're in the middle. But what you need to recognize too is that what you have just sitting right beside you is Scorpio. And the Scorpio is ruled by this 8th house, this control, this transformation, this reclaiming your power and directly challenging somebody who believes that because they invested in a little way somehow in you, that you owe them. Well, you're going to have to walk in there into the Scorpionic house now, which is your next door neighbor, and say, hi neighbor, we don't know each other very well, but I need to let you know that before you arrived, I was here first. And so I have a better idea of what's going on. Also, I can look in all directions and see where this project began, and I also see where it's going to end. So, you know, if you think that you can just walk in and pull a power trip on me, it's not going to happen, because I'm like the guru. I can see it from all angles. But, you'll say to this neighbor, however, I will come in, sit down, and have a glass of what? Tequila with you? Okay, if that's your thing, I'll have a glass of tequila with you and sit down and chat with you. And you can be my guide in how to reclaim this power, reclaim my energy, and transform my life more fully, wholly, and completely. And that is when your neighbor comes in very handy. They're not handy when they're banging on the wall or playing loud music, which, you know, can be a real disturbance. It can keep you up at night, keep you awake. You know, kind of like that feeling that you have when somebody has control over you. It can keep you up at night, make you lose some sleep somehow. But now in May, you'll make peace with that neighbor and you'll go in and say, okay, teach me how to do what you're the master at, and that is having control and power. And here's the King of Wands. He's the one who certainly has control and power. He's a fire element, he's a fire sign. Some of you could be, because this card here beside it, some of you could, look, they're turning their back to each other. Air element turning their back on a fire element. Some of you could be having real problems with a fiery character, with a fire sign who is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, perhaps, or somebody who is quite fiery in nature. And you want to challenge them, but at the same time you want you to turn your back on them. This almost looks like a stalemate, that you're not looking at each other. You can't face each other. You can't look each other in the eyes, because if you do, you know that you'll probably kill each other, because he has a weapon and she has a weapon. So there's a part of you saying, The reason why I'm doing this kind of balancing out and trying to keep the peace is because if we do actually square off on one another, we'll kill each other. And I'm not entirely sure who's going to come out the better of it. We might end up just destroying each other. So there is that moment where it will feel a bit like that, where it will feel in May that you're trying desperately not to face the situation because you feel it's big enough to kind of knock you back. But it's something you're going to have to do, because beside it we have judgment, and judgment is a scorpionic card, the 8th house of transformation, reclaiming your power and control, all the things we've been saying, Libra. And it's saying you're going to have to face it, you're going to have to do it, you're going to have to square off with this person. Where it was like this, it's going to have to get like this. You're going to have to say your piece, you're going to have to go in and challenge them directly, because it's almost like it'll be out of your control. The situation will come at some point mid-May where you will absolutely be forced to have this head-to-head, to confront this, to really put somebody in their place and knock them back. And anybody who's a challenge to you in any arena or any part of your life, you're going to have to put them back in their place. You're going to have to say, no, trust me, I have a big picture. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't know what I'm doing. I'm a Libra. I don't just enter into shit willy-nilly. I enter into it because I know what I'm doing. You've got to know this. And if you don't know this, then why don't you know this? Why don't you know who I am? Why are you making me exert so much energy defending the things that I'm doing, defending the people that I care about, defending the relationships I'm in? Why do I have to do this? You ought to know me. Why don't you know me? And that in itself is an assertion of power and control. Reclaiming that the reason why you're doing the things you're doing in your life, Libra, is because you didn't enter into them lightly. You knew what you were doing. And other people now have to be reminded of that. So what if money is an issue at the moment? It won't always be like that. But you're getting drained and drained and drained of some internal power, like an internal resource, by constantly having to reassert yourself and keep the balance in some way and keep it going. Where that power and energy should be used into running forward with your life, running forward with your projects, running forward with your plans. Clear the path. Remove the distractions, because Libra, once you do that, you enter into this gorgeous energy of the Fool, who is somebody who just takes a leap of faith into the future and who leaves behind the stresses. When you reclaim the power in May and summon up your strength and have this challenge with the people who are wearing you down, wearing your batteries down, constantly asking, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? You'll just turn your back on all that and say, that's just bullshit. I have to just now focus on my future. Look, he's looking up and he's saying, I've got to be free. I've got to be free. I need a holiday. I need a break. I need to go far, far away. I've got to be free of this, to reclaim some of my energy, to reclaim some of my strength, so that I can come back fighting fit. But it's interesting, because when you come back after taking this big dive, you're jumping off this big diving board, off this big cliff, and saying, the universe has my back, I'm going to go for it and trust it. Once you do this, your power returns. And the respect from other people returns. It's a strange thing, because as I said, what you might learn again, you remember I said, learn what the art of real balance is. Excuse me, real balance never comes from compromising yourself, because that's not balance, that's giving your power away. Real balance doesn't come from making yourself small. That's not balance, that's giving your power away. Real balance doesn't come from allowing somebody else have the lion's share of power in your life. Because that's not balance, that's out of control. Jump back in, take a leap of faith, jump back in, be free, and regain your control. Excuse me, Libra. I'm coughing there, I don't know why. The High Priestess. This is a very, very deep card, which totally ties in with the new moon. You'll see there happening again in this deep house of transformation, of looking deeper into your whole life, your whole experience of life. Nothing can be superficial from any more, Libra, either. If there's relationships that are always superficial, that you're tiptoeing around things with people, that you can never have any great deep conversation with them or deep experience with them, then the new moon on the 15th is absolutely going to challenge that. And I think a great many of you will get a big giant scissors out and cut a bunch of people out of your life who don't get it, who don't get what you're doing, you know? Because they need to get it, because you're trying so hard. This card sometimes is like the swan, graceful above. When you see a swan on a lake, they look beautiful, graceful. But just look below the water and you see they're paddling like hell to stay afloat. And that's really key here too. You don't want to be that Libra anymore who's graceful above the surface of the water, but underneath, if people could only see that you're paddling like hell just to stay above water. Well, this is her going underneath, going to the place where you're paddling like hell to keep it all afloat, and eliminating anything that's difficult so that you can glide smoother across that beautiful lake. So it's not such a huge amount of effort given to staying elegant while everything else is falling apart around you. She's going to bring the foundations of your life essentially back in to alignment, so that you have a better sense of a solid ground beneath everything that you're doing in your life. Now, these are two cards here that talk about going deeper, which is what you'll be doing. As I said, she's going deeper to look for the treasure under the power of the new moon, to gain this huge sense of wisdom and control back in her life. I mean, we say with this card that she really has been to hell and back. This is Persephone, the goddess who rules Hades. So she has been to hell and back. And in May, you recognize that you've been to hell and back and you don't want to be constantly in that place. So what you do is you have a quiet moment, go in and think deeply and return with a lantern. I mean, this could be a dark place. I know she's quite illuminated looking, she's shining, she has the moon here and the moon here. But if she departed, you imagine that in the underworld it would be quite dark. So what you're finding is a light. And that light can guide your way through this dark, through this hellish experience that you might be going through when it comes to power, control being taken away from you. That you'll find a way out of this, Libra. And you'll reclaim your power. And look, you might be the only one then who knows where they're going and what they're doing. All the other people might be stuck in the dark and you're saying, well, I've a light. I know where I'm going. In fact, I always knew where I was going. I always had this light, you know. It's just because all of you are so in the dark that you don't know where you're going. But you must trust me from now on in. You've got to trust that I know what I'm doing. Because I really do light it up when you let me light it up. And you do, Libra. You do light it up when you go deeper, when you trust that thing that you always begin every relationship with, that you always begin every project with, that thing of having the confidence of saying, I know what I'm doing. And then in May, you'll travel further and say, at every juncture, at every point, at every crossroads, when people say, you don't know what you're doing, you'll say, oh yes I do. It might look dark to you, but I know where I'm going. And even under the moon, you know, even under the moon, look, He's wedged in. She's a moon card and then moon card, and he's in the middle. So between the energies, strange energies of the moon, he's there, lighting his way. He knows how to navigate through this. All the problems in your life you're experiencing at the moment, Libra, be it financial, be it looking for support from people who you just can't seem to depend on their support anymore. You're going to find a way through this, through your confidence and through your own power, and survive the weirdness of the moons. I mean, the full moon, as we go into May, will be in your second house. And it's a Scorpio. Again, it's all this Scorpionic energy. And financially, certainly, you'll find your way out of a hole at the end of the month. You'll have some great realization. And then as the full moon at the end of the month, May 29th, goes into your third house, you'll be able to know how to put your plans together, communicate them. For those of you in business or trade, you'll be able to market something better, you sell it better. You'll figure it out, you'll find a way. And again, between the two moons, as I said, you're there in the middle. Once you have a quiet moment of reflection, you'll be able to navigate your way through any weirdness that's happening, any moment of nightmare. I just get the sense as I'm coming to the end of the reading, Libra, that you'll come to a realization at the end of May that you've been quite living a nightmare. You've been to hell and back. You've lost countless hours of sleep. People have been behaving weirdly. People have been behaving unexpectedly. Life has thrown you so many unexpected things. And that's it. You're tired now. This is the big key. You're tired now of life throwing you so much unexpected weird shit. And you're tired of not ever having the control over this weirdness. That at the end of May, you'll say, I have the control over this, and I'm going back to my quiet space to relax, to rest, and finally not to lose sleep under the weirdness, but to end the month absolutely having that solitude that I crave. And I mean, look at this guy. He's not just sleeping, but he has his hands together. For some might say he's praying, he's wishing, he's asking for guidance from a bigger source. But mostly he's having a real moment of meditation in himself quietly and saying, what do I now need to plan for my future? See, his hands are like, where do I need to go? What do I need to do? And the only way I can find the best answer in that is to take time out and rest and relax and focus on my ideas. This is an air card, air, your element. Get back into your element, which is all about having the big idea, knowing the project, brainstorming, throwing something out there and saying, we can do this. Let's light it up. No, it's back to the drawing board with you to remind yourself why you do the things that you do in your life. And like I said, others might not know where you're going, but you do. And you can survive the moon madness, all the moons, the Scorpio full moon that we enter May in, whatever happens there, some stuff might come to an absolute end. Some controlling relationships will come to an end. The power that other people have over you will come to an end. The new moon, giving you a new insight on how to reclaim your strength, how to get your power back, how to find a new understanding of what balance is without compromising yourself. She gives you that new wisdom. And then towards the end of the month, on the 29th, you've the full moon, Sagittarius full moon, in your communications house, in trade, travel, business, neighbours even. Any problems that you're having in your life, even with your siblings, you'll just feel, I can get through this if I just remind myself that I'm in my element when I'm allowed to just be brilliant in my mind, when I'm allowed to communicate my ideas effectively, where people listen to them. I mean, it was enough when I said my ideas, when I said I wanted to live my life a certain way, when I said this is how I think things should be, bunches of people jumped on board with that because they felt the energy of it. Now, why do they not believe in it anymore? I've got to go back and I've got to, like I said, I keep saying it, reclaim my power so I can show people why they need to believe in it again. Libra, it's a powerful month, very powerful. And don't fear any of these transformations. You know, some of you might have a few shocking moments in terms of your finances. But you know something, it's the right thing to happen because it takes the power out of something that has been scaring you or somebody that has been having too much control over you. And it gives you the opportunity to find your own wisdom, your own light, reclaim your power and go further into your own life, into your own future, completely in control of your own life. Just you, depending on nobody else, just you. That can't be too bad, Libra. Libra, if this is the first time seeing my videos, then please do subscribe. Come join me on Facebook. I have a page there, She Bear Tarot. You might like it. And in the meantime, Libra, I'm going to leave you with a big kiss for luck. Mwah. And don't worry about this month. Everything is for the better. Everything is to reclaim your power. It's for you. And you'll understand that as the month ends. I love you so much, Libra. See you next month.